Hello, Natalia, and welcome to Radio Tony Everyday Business. I'm really happy to have you here this afternoon. And the reason why I'm excited about this interview in particular is because Natalia is one of the amazing women who's doing wonderful things to keep us united as women and on track to achieve a better world where women are equally represented and equally included in the conversations that are had across the world, particularly in the echelons of power, shall we say. Natalia, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all the great, amazing work you're doing. I've been following some of your interviews, amazing guests, and very important work. Very important work to spread the good news, I would say.
Absolutely. You would think that we wouldn't have to be still talking about the same things. And I saw a post maybe on Twitter today. There, women are protesting in the United States and they're marching for women and women's rights. And one of the placards said, I can't believe I'm still protesting this stuff 50 years later. Things have to change, don't they, Natalia?
They do, but we need to change also. What I mean by that, it's a
Absolutely.
matter of us actually, because we often point fingers at that has to change and this has to change and this is not good. But we are part of that system with every narrative, with
Yes.
every word we say, we're co-creating the world we live in. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that because it's so much easier, it's so humanly uh, we're
Yes.
inclined to point the fingers at someone else, and not in a bad way. I'm not judging us now, but
No.
it's the natural thing to look for the mistake somewhere else. And so for me, it's also one of the reasons I started the community for women is because I feel there's work we need to do, and if we do that
Yes.
work with ourselves together, because we need to support each other, then we will show up in
Absolutely.
the world in a different way, and then the world will change with
Yes.
us.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Which is, I guess, why I love talking to women because we often have the answers and we certainly have the drive to change things, and we already know that this work starts with us. So we have to become the change that we want to see in the world, and it's important to
Absolutely.
start with us. We have to
Absolutely.
change our behaviors and the way that we talk and what we expect and what we accept is also an important conversation. So whilst we keep accepting certain things, that's what we'll get. So, Natalia, I know that you have been fighting for gender equality for such a long time, but you've done something, you've taken some action in the last 18 months to further that. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so approximately a little less than 2 years ago, basically in January 2020, I started Women Heart to Heart, which is a global online community of women. We call it of women changemakers and co-creators. So it's about it's a place, it's the home where uh, solopreneurs, socialpreneurs, mompreneurs, disruptpreneurs. I mean, always jokingly using
All
these
the
words.
preneurs.
All the preneurs. So in other words,
Yeah.
it's people on a mission to change something. It's people on a mission
Mm-hmm.
to live in a better world, because not everybody is on that
Yeah.
mission. So we are the place for women who are on that mission, and we're supporting each other in, as you were saying, just creating this better world for us, for our children. What I want to mention here, because you use the word fight for gender equality, I actually don't feel I'm fighting for gender equality.
Yep.
Uh, there's two. I mean, this is about narrative.
Yes.
I'm aligned with a lot of people who are fighting for gender equality, but I don't use these words because for two reasons. First, I don't think there's anything to
Yes.
fight. I think when we fight something, we make it bigger.
Yes.
And I would argue even that there are things that in the last years have related to women's place in society and rights and equality and all that have worsened in some aspects because of this fight. Because when you fight something, you assume there is an enemy, and there's
Mm.
no enemy here. There's no enemy. It's just it's a society progressing to its further stage. So we need to accept.
Evolving.
Absolutely. So we were living in a different world 100 years ago, 200 years ago, even not so long. I live in Switzerland, and it was only 50 years ago women were allowed to vote. I mean, in the history of mankind, this is so short. This is in my
Yes.
lifetime. I mean, this is
Yeah.
so short. So when you really think what has happened in the last 50 years, a lot has changed. We need to be proud of it. And
Yeah.
what before these 50 years, it was just a different world. We didn't have all the
Mm-hmm.
possibilities we have today, and somebody needed to be with the children. We didn't have
Yes.
the possibilities that we have today. And for me, it's a natural evolution, and there's no enemy here. It's we're moving forward to a more fair, more beautiful world, I would say.
Yes.
And this world
Yes.
is not just, it's not equality for me, the word, because I want a world where everybody shines with their uniqueness. And
Yes.
equality implies to me we want to be equal. We want to be equal with men. Do we really want to be equal with men? I don't.
No.
We have
No.
we have we have our own unique beauty. So why not shine
Absolutely.
in that? Yeah. So I say forget equality. Let's work towards world where everybody has the opportunity to shine and to fulfill their potential, the reason they're coming on this earth. Uh,
No,
I also
definitely.
called, called this journey from yesterday. I posted something about it. The journey from scared to sacred, and there's just one letter
Yes. That's
difference. One letter
beautiful.
is turned there, but it's when we
Yeah.
stop being fearful, when we stop being doing things out of fear, and also I would say doing things sleepwalking, like not asking the
Yes.
right questions, just walking through life from one thing to another, just mechanically going through things, not
Mm.
asking ourselves, so what is really happening here? Is this so the community, women heart to heart community is really about supporting us on this journey so that we're happier, more successful, more prosperous, but in our own unique way.
Definitely, definitely. I know that I haven't been introduced to the heart to heart community for long, but every time I engage with women in that community, it's such a safe, empowering, almost sacred, to borrow your wording. It's almost a sacred space where women can freely talk and interact from a deeper level and a deeper level of understanding. And if all of humanity were able to interact from that deeper level of understanding and the higher level of consciousness, we would progress as human beings. The world would be different. We would solve the big problems. One of the things that I'm seeing throughout the world, and I've been questioning for a little while, Natalia, is the concept that people, and you alluded to it earlier, that there's a fight. And from my perspective, there are too many people fighting COVID or fighting something else or fighting. I actually think that as human beings, we need to develop resilience and adaptability and ability to change. And that's what COVID has shown many of us. But for others, it's caused them to fight and it's brought out terrible angst, anxiety, and scared. People are scared. And there's actually, it's not, I don't think that the purpose behind COVID is to make us scared. I think it's to remind us of our humanity, to remind us that we are resilient, and to remind us that we don't need to be scared because life is sacred. And whatever that life looks like, that's sacred in itself. Natalia, did you have in your mind the heart to heart community for a while, or did it just come as a spark of inspiration?
It's a really good question. I would start a little earlier in my life. So
Yeah.
basically, my career roughly puts 20 years in a corporate environment, kind of from startup to big corporate,
Yes.
executive career, international management career, and then about 10 years in consulting and coaching and facilitation. So when I was still back in corporate, there was a point in my career where I found myself the only woman country director. There was such a point in the whole
Yeah.
world of a global corporation, leading global corporation. There was this
Wow.
point, yes, and the other women you could see were in marketing, HR, uh, also in the lower positions, but very few on boards, very few, and like a really, really, really male-dominated profession.
Yes.
And I was in full denial. I was just saying to myself, "No, if you're professional, there's no problem. You can do it. There's no limitations." My partner at the time was telling me, why don't you make meetings with the women in the company? Why don't you do something? I was like, no, there's no need. I was in complete denial of how we need each other in our world. And then when I was leaving,
Yes.
I think many people are there. When I was
Mm.
leaving the company, I received these messages from many women. At that point, I realized, I mean, it's something so, how should I say, it's so basic, but I didn't see it then. That we need each other. That we
Yes.
pave the women in their life as mentors. I mean, we need men as well. I'm not saying we
Yes.
don't. There is a special connection women to women and also men to men, by the way.
Yes.
Like, we
Yes.
are mentor of men, and you can only mentor the development only for a partner. You need a male. You just think about things in different ways. We're just different. So we need each
Yes.
other. At that time, I was still like kind of surprised by my realization. And then as I started my consulting coaching career, I was going through different uh, learning about different things. And one of them was I went to a course on authentic leadership. And as I was going through
Yes.
the because in general, in spirit of source, I've spent my life mimicking hard. In the field that I was I had to be I'm talking business female role. And I realized that I've achieved a lot, but I was never fully
Yes.
happy. Always something missing. Feels organizations within gender and developed around masculine energy. The nectar masculine energy, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
I started realizing, and I had a completely different perspective than on my whole career and how I could have been more happier. I started doing some work with
Mm-hmm.
women. I did some workshops. I did some conferences for 1 or 2 days. But there was something, I still wasn't planning to do anything with women. I wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't important to me.
Yes.
I mean, I was doing important to make it like central view. And step by step, as I was doing one thing led to another. So basically, it's a whole life development that led me to this place. But then to get closer to your original question, when it happened by itself. It happened like, like as if a lot of pieces were now coming together, and I knew this is what I need to do.
Yes. Yes.
If it makes sense.
It does.
And I cannot even explain fully how the name came to me. I can explain pieces of the whole
Yes.
process, but I think the name came through me, as I say. I think there
Yes.
was some bigger purpose that was trying to come through me. And
Yes.
actually, this name, Heart to Heart, Women Heart to Heart, but the Heart to Heart part,
Yes.
is exactly the reason why, from the very beginning, we started. Every meeting has been amazing. It's been sacred, as we were speaking. It's been
Yes.
so special, so authentic, so deep. Between women they've never met in their lives. Uh,
Yes.
to cut the long story short, I think this is it's related to my purpose. It was a journey for me to arrive where I arrived today. And if I didn't
Yes.
have been able to do what I'm doing, because I'm
Yeah.
just but
So,
but again,
Natalia,
sorry, yeah,
you're all right. So, this beautiful community of women that you've created, the Heart to Heart community, it's based on I hate to call it a subscription model, but it's based on membership with access to amazing women across the world. So it's not just for people in Europe, women in Europe. I'm in Australia and I've been able to join when the time zones are not too tricky. Um, but it's an amazing community for women and it's very supportive and encompassing of all sorts of women, not just high end executive CEO levels, but all manner of women. And I've talked to a lot of them within the group, and it's just such a beautiful group. To go from working in the corporate world, where you spent many years working with change makers, what attracted you to working with people that we determine change makers? What are some of the insights that you've gathered working with change makers for so long, Natalia?
yes. So there are a couple of things here I want to mention. So first, as far as change makers, I've always been driven by a desire to not always, but in the last years, I've been really driven by desire to contribute, and I also find myself often kind of reacting to injustices and not necessarily
Yes.
injustices in the traditional way we see them, but something that bothers me specifically in a specific situation, and I've been driven to do something about it. I've been driven also to do something about this awakening of people, as I call it. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
but on the journey, I met a lot of people. I was part of many organizations, amazing people, beautiful people. In the last 10 years, I've met so many amazing people. It's just incredible. And with
Yes.
that said, they're not all very happy. They feel lonely.
Yeah.
They feel they're fighting a fight that is very difficult, and they feel like a lonely warrior sometimes, because their surrounding
Uh-huh.
doesn't always support them. Because sometimes when we are so passionate about something, we forget about ourselves. Actually, yesterday we were
Yes.
talking to the community on the importance to the same metaphor that they tell women to put first their mask if something happens on an airplane and then on the kid. So it's the
Yeah.
same here. Sometimes as change makers, we're so passionate about some things, but we forget to take care of ourselves. So I saw
Yeah.
the need, all these change makers somehow need each other, because otherwise our efforts are so scattered, and we go into the world and um, I'm really sorry. I should have. Sorry, I should be
We
talking about
forget. We
this.
forget.
This is the life around us, right? Um, so I felt we need to support each other so that we scale, so that we have bigger impact, because our efforts are
Yes.
scattered. It's somehow
Yes.
bad in the world that we want to change is more visible, and these people are scattered. So I felt
Mm.
we need to be more connected to each other. We need to support each other
Yes.
more. First of all, we're happier together, because alone, I mean, it's not fun doing anything, feeling alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I really felt we need each other, and we need to help each other more, support each other more. But there was something else also you wanted to say. You were talking about the fact that it's a very global community, and that's
Yeah.
something I did on purpose. So there were specific steps in the beginning to make sure we're very global, and we have really women from all continents. It's like from
Yes.
so many places. And there's
And
also
it's
one.
lovely.
Thank you. And there's one other thing you mentioned I want to emphasize. I was really tired of going to women in leadership conferences. I also did some where there's
Yes.
kind of image of a corporate woman, really well dressed up.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
You know what I mean. So I wanted a place where basically we are free to be. We don't need our kind of career identity to be there. We're just very
Yes.
human beings. So women in the community don't always know a lot about each other. We have some really successful and wealthy people. We have some not so wealthy. I mean, there's people from different ages, and I love that, because we are
Yes.
connecting level of humanity, heart to heart, and none of this
Yes.
matters. None of that matters. And
That's right.
one last angle here on the global. Um, I think we live in a very special world today, a global world. We know that. We know it, but I
Yes.
don't believe that. So I personally believe that we need, first of all, we need our roots. That's for sure. We need to be
Yes.
more connected than ever to our roots, more appreciative
Yes.
of our ancestors, what our parents have been through, their parents through. So we need to be appreciative of these roots and accepting. But we also
Yeah.
need a community of global people, because we live in a global world. And
Mm.
sometimes our local environments are not supporting us in really unleashing our potential. Sometimes they're too narrow. And when I teach
Yeah.
women in a place where they feel it's too narrow, we need to be in place where we can spread our wings freely and like really
Yes.
show potential. And I'm a really believing that we need these heart-to-heart conversations and contacts with people around the world. We
We
need
do.
that.
Mm.
And it's very different from our local networks. Local contact. We need those. So
Yeah. Natalia, I've heard you talk before about our innate wisdom, our collective intelligence, and our conscious participation in shaping our own future. What do you mean by that?
it's a little bit related to the sleepwalking that I was initially talking about. So
Yeah.
whether we realize it or not, we are shaping a future. So the future doesn't exist still. So with every action every one of us makes, every step, we're creating the future. I mean, it's sometimes people
Yes.
talk about the future is imminent, as if it's gonna be like that. Nobody knows what it's gonna be. We are making it now. So
Yeah.
very often when we're sleepwalking, and I connect parts of my life also with sleepwalking, and I think there's
Yes.
never a moment when we're fully awake. There's always some dark corner somewhere that we're not seeing.
There is.
Because
Definitely.
the world is so complex, there's so many things happening. We couldn't possibly kind of be aware of everything, and we don't need to. Uh, but it's important that we wake to our role of co-creators of the future that's to come, and we take a more
Yes.
conscious steps, because we're doing it anyway. But when it's not
Yes.
conscious, what we're doing is we keep repeating the past. We keep repeating the same
Yes.
narratives. We're recreating the past, and then we wonder why we're still dealing with this problem. I
Yeah.
wrote recently, I was looking, there's something called morphic field. Some people argue
Uh
it
huh.
exists, some don't, but it's it's um, it's the field that keeps, for example, a flock of birds flying together. Uh,
Yes.
we've all seen this amazing. I mean, like where thousands
The
of birds are kind
starlings.
of,
Yeah.
yes, they kind of know where they need to go. So it's really the
Yes. And
morphic
they.
field.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. So it's this morphic
Yes.
field that keeps them connected, and this morphic field contains our memory, our collective memory, and this collective energy that keeps us together. And this is beautiful because we do not need to learn everything from the very beginning. We get born into knowing things. But it's
Yes.
that same morphic field that keeps us to the old. And it's not always easy to, when you
Break
try,
out of the flock.
yes. So it's not an
Mm.
easy process. And uh, we know now on many things. So actually, we live in a very interesting place now in the world. So on one side, we need to break from some old ways of doing things because we live in a completely different world. On
Yes.
the other side, we're going through a process where we need to reconnect to wisdom that our
Yeah.
ancestors had and we lost it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so it's kind of this process of going deeper in the past, but then breaking through from other things. Uh, and
Yes.
it's not an easy process, but that's where we need
Mm.
to support each other into consciously choosing on which things
Yes.
we follow the flock because the flock knows better, and on which
Yeah.
case we break from the flock. Uh, And obviously this is easier said than done, but it is this journey of awakening, of becoming more conscious and accepting, realizing our role for the future. Our children are gonna
Definitely.
Every choice we make. I want to add one thing there. For example, everybody is talking against, not everybody, but a lot of people talk against, I don't know, corporations. But
Yes.
we want to be, I don't know, like we go to the supermarket and we see all the apples are the same, so this couldn't be natural apples, right?
Yes.
I mean, but we keep buying them, right? Because we like them when they're beautiful. And
yeah.
the apples of some old lady that has some apples in her door and they look funny and ugly and stuff. So every choice we make every day supports something. And we need to become conscious with every choice we make. The corporations, they follow customers. They want to, it's much more complex than that. But
Yes.
they make just one example. Okay, we sleepwalking. So if we awake together, we support each other in this way, we are going to be good.
Definitely. Natalia, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to quickly ask, have you got a glimpse of your vision of the future and where heart to heart sits in that vision?
I don't have a specific, like, I haven't, how should I say? It's not specific, but it's more a heart feeling.
Correct.
So
Yes.
it's more
Yes. Yes.
a feeling that we're a place where women tap into their maximum potential, intuition, where women connect to the courage because they have it in them, but connect to the courage that helps them be true to themselves, like shine. Absolutely. And it's interesting you're using this word. So for me, the ultimate measure of success is, are my eyes shining? Are the eyes of people around me shining? So I'm hoping that we become this large group of people with shining eyes who are creating more shining eyes around them.
Oh, Natalia, that's just beautiful and such a gorgeous way to end the interview, with lots of women shining and encouraging other women to shine as well. That's a beautiful, beautiful vision. Natalia, thank you for talking to me today.